Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching In Your Interest. I'm Shweta Kothari. We continue to track the latest emerging in the investigation at the Red Fort blast. Now, tonight, we are peeling back the layers of a chilling investigation into the Red Fort terror attack, and it has uncovered a deadly web linking white coats, terror doctors and explosive rites in the heart of the capital outskirts. Imagine a university campus meant to build futures, but instead becomes a breeding ground for terror. This is the story of Al-Falah University in Faridabad, a place that was supposed to heal, a place that was supposed to educate, but instead it became something far more sinister. It reportedly became a terror den, and this is a harrowing tale of how Red Fort terror attack, where the bomber wore a doctor's coat and the mentor hid behind a cleric's robe. The place is now under the glare of relentless scrutiny as investigators zero in on its role in the Red Fort blast. Two main accused, Muzammil Shakil and Nabi Umar, worked right here, blending into the daily rhythm of classes and labs while plotting a terror attack. But beyond the suspects, serious cracks are now emerging in the university's own foundation. They are facing damning charges of fake accreditation that misled countless students and parents into believing their dreams were safe. The National Assessment and Accreditation Council has slapped a show cause notice on Al-Falah University for misrepresenting its expired accreditation. Agencies, including Enforcement Directorate, are now launching a forensic audit to trace the money trail, and investigators are digging into allegations of lab spaces being misused for sinister purposes. And as the probe deepens, Al-Falah isn't just a backdrop, it's emerging as the ground zero where much of the deadly plot took place and took shape in its current form. Diaries seized from the accused are packed with code words and encrypted messages, painting a picture of a campus that doubled as a secret planning and coordination hub. Explosives weren't just stashed in remote hideouts, they were stored and assembled in rented locations just outside the campus. And one of the accused was hired despite red flags. He had been fired from a job in Jammu and Kashmir over direct terror links, and yet somehow slipped through the cracks here, raising alarms about vetting that seemed to be extremely porous than it should be in an academic institution.
Al-Falah University, where the entire conspiracy of the Delhi blast near the Red Fort area was hatched, and 3 doctors were involved. So the latest coming up from the university is that the Brezza car has been recovered from inside the university, and this is the 4th car involved in this case. 4th car is Brezza. The car was recovered from the university itself, and it was registered in the name of Dr. Shaheen. Earlier, first car that was involved was also of Dr. Shaheen, and it was a Desire. And this was seized when weapons were also seized from the location. Weapons and explosives were seized from the same location the car was seized. Second car was the car I-20, which was involved in the blast, which took place outside Red Fort area. The third car is Eco Sport car, which was missing, and the agencies were looking out for the car, trying to find out. Now they have recovered the car, and this was used to buy explosives. So this is the 4th car now which has been recovered by the investigation agencies.
And then there is the cleric doctor link in the case, which is not accidental. It is a method. Educated professionals were trusted. They have access, they have credibility. And when wrapped in ideology and religious ideology, they become invisible soldiers. Pulling the strings in this web of deception is Imam Irfan Wage, a man whose title as prayer leader hide a far darker calling. The mastermind of the Delhi terror blast. This wasn't just some fringe figure sitting on the sidelines. Wage, a former paramedic in a government medical college in Srinagar, used his trusted position to radicalize doctors and students. He weaved his influence from Faridabad's classrooms to the mosques in Naugam in Kashmir. He preyed on impressionable minds in the name of faith, turning healing professionals into weapons of war. Even his wife was entangled in this terror web, working with the women's wing of Jaish-e-Mohammed terror group. through a shadowy network of mosques, Wage recruited these white-collar professionals, transforming them from caregivers into conspirators, all under the guise of spiritual guidance. Wage was directly linked to Dr. Muhammad Nabi Umar, who stepped into the infamy as the Red Fort bomber. Umar wasn't an outsider lashing out from the shadows. He was employed at the Al-Falah Medical College, a doctor whose stethoscope hid a bomber vest. Umar is suspected of leading this elite cadre of white-collar radicals, educated men who traded oaths to save lives and then vowed to destroy them. His story isn't just one of personal dissent. It's a stark warning of how terror can infiltrate the most respectable corners of society, turning saviors into saboteurs. The questions that we're asking here tonight: how many more Al-Falah universities across the country today that operate under shadows? How did a case of institutionalized terror slip under security radar? And will our intelligence network get ahead of these mentors of monster before they breed the next wave of bombers? All of that and more in your interest today. Joining us on the show is N.K. Sood, former RAW officer. Also with us is Ranjan Dwivedi, former DGP, Uttar Pradesh. Dr. Arun Gupta, former president, Delhi Medical Council and senior consultant at Fortis Hospital. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for taking time out. This is an important story. It's also a building story. Let me come to you first, Mr. Sood. What is now coming to light seems to be a nexus, sir, which was operating for far too long and right under our noses, about 30 kilometers away from the national capital. I have to ask you, sir, how does this operation take place where an institution allows some of its own employees to work under radar who then end up becoming suicide bombers in the national capital?
Actually, it is a very well planned operation. It is not that this operation was taking place for 1 or 2 years. I think maybe 5 or 6 years back. And the conspirators in this, I will like to take one more, other name, who is the chairman of Al-Falah Trust. He is Jaish-e-Mohammed Siddiqui. This man was a teacher in Jamia Millia. Here he was removed from there because he was involved in some corruption cases. Then he had gathered a lot of money, Then he started his career as the head of this organization. And he got approval from UGC. He got approval from UGC in May 2014. And at that time, Haryana's chief minister was a Congress. It was led by Bhupinder Singh Hooda.
Okay.
Just before the BJP took over, he got the approval from UGC. And I'm sure that this man cannot escape punishment. He seems to be the main head of all this thing, Everything that was being done under his nose. And he has multiple engineering colleges, medical college, hospital and university. So, the owner of this organization, Al-Falah University, he is totally involved in this. And you see, a lot of people ask a lot of questions. The doctors are involved, this and white collar people are involved. Who is Asim Munir? He is white collar. Who is Pakistan Prime Minister? He is the same person. When people were being pushed out from J&K, who was Chief Minister? Farooq Abdullah. He ran away, leaving the J&K totally open to militants. So, if the people think that the white collar people are innocent, that is not there. All this agenda is being run by white collar people. They have been recruiting imams, they have been recruiting this doctors and other people. But it's a very dangerous game, and India will have to take direct action in this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. India has vowed action. And Ranjan Dwivedi, I want to come to you, sir. If this were to be a case of a terror module operating not for months, but as as N.K. Sood pointed out, perhaps years, how did it go unnoticed? When we talk about terror modules operating in Delhi NCR region, this is a terror module operating within an institution or university which is supposed to educate people. How do you think the network went unnoticed for such a long time before they carried out that dastardly attack?
Yeah, Shweta, firstly, I'd like to say that we shouldn't make too much out of this doctors being involved. As I said in your channel yesterday evening also, if there was a doctor, there was a motor mechanic, there was a government employee, there's a school teacher in this network, then I'd be a lot more concerned. Why? Because it's really widespread and it covers many people from many walks of life.
Okay.
And it's really a huge network then, and a lot of effort has been made to radicalize all these people. Now, in the case of 4 doctors, you see, I'd also like to add, universities are centers of dialogue. The teachers, professors think they're intellectuals. They like to get into ideological issues. So now, once, if you compromise one doctor, it could be anything. The fellow was caught in a compromising position and then blackmailed into submission, given money also, and given the task of spreading the ideology in his own community. And that seems to be more the case. And that's why all these doctors are involved. So, the fact that doctors, I don't see anything very great in that.
Okay.
Secondly, you see, this was a university with accreditation. Now, if the accreditation itself was faulty, then of course you can take action against the management and also the officers who were involved in this whole grant of accreditation, because it wasn't done properly. But if that was okay, and you see, ED now is investigating and inquiring into the funding of the university and what monies have come in, that will give you leads as to whether this was innocuous or not.
Okay.
And you say, and I'd also say that the government needs to also assuage students who are studying over there, who are innocent, who are not involved in all these activities. They should realize that if they are fine, if they're good, if they're okay, their future will not be jeopardized. We have to be very careful. We have to be very sensitive that the community itself is not it doesn't feel caged in the whole situation. There are 40,000 students studying over there. There are 40 Kashmiri students studying over there. Maybe if 10 were involved, 30 were not involved. So they shouldn't feel, it's very important, they shouldn't feel caged in the whole situation as if their career is being blemished and their character is blemished. So this decision and will have to be really applied very carefully, because you see, after all, the government is for everybody. The government is also for the people of Kashmir who are living there. And you see, Kashmiris themselves,
absolutely,
they have worked the whole case out. After all, so you have to be very careful and very sensitive in following it up and assuaging the feelings of the people who are good and making it clear, unless your evidence is found against you and you are found to be at fault, you have nothing to worry about. We'll take care of your future. And so this is 100%. As important.
The students must be worried. Needless to say that the students must be very worried. Those at least who are innocent, have nothing to do with this case, have been associated with Al-Falah University, perhaps were buying the fact that it is accredited, but now we're getting to know that even that was expired, that was fake. So I will come to you in just a bit. Let me quickly also get in Dr. Arun Gupta into this conversation. Dr. Gupta, with Al-Falah University now facing charges that its accreditation was fake, it was expired, do you believe that NAC and UGC accreditation should perhaps include a process of national vetting? Because you never know when, some of these universities hiding in some remote corners of the world become breeding grounds.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I think we should have a very foolproof method to see, because now once this incident has happened, now everybody is saying that was accreditation was expired or something else. Now, as far as Delhi Medical Council is concerned, or for that matter any state medical council, all the colleges or university or especially medical colleges are recognized by National Medical Commission. Now, once someone applies to our council for a registration, we always check whether that university is first of all is recognized, that college is recognized by National Commission or not, and secondly we collect all the credentials and we always refer it back to the concerned state and the university state and the National Medical Commission to verify their credentials, whether they are actually to rule out any possibility of fake degree.
Right.
That is one aspect of this checking registration. But the other aspect is also like a lot of foreign medical gadgets are coming in these days of our states. That is something which has to be looked into very, very carefully, because they do degrees from some of the universities from Europe or Africa or some other countries. So what in our council, what we do whenever we get any credentials or certificates from them, we always refer it back to the respective embassy also.
Right.
And once embassy also verifies that yes, this person exists, Here is his passport. He went there. That college exists. Then only we give the registration to our Delhi Medical Council.
Okay. In fact, links are now also emerging of many of these doctors were not just practicing. Some of them were also enrolled into serious, further professional studies. They were enrolled into PG. Some of them were doing specialized course. One was in fact doing cardiology. So that's extremely surprising. Mr. Sood, we are looking at white collar terrorists. People are waking up to a new reality that very educated, highly sophisticated people are also today susceptible to being brainwashed, to being recruited by terrorist groups. How do we face a challenge like this? What sort of policy do we have for white collar terrorism?
I think white collar terrorism had existed since long. I just mentioned, I think, Pakistan's army chief is white collar person.
Okay.
Shahbaz Sharif is white collar. I mentioned the name of Farooq Abdullah also. When there was militancy in Kashmir, Farooq Abdullah just stepped out of Kashmir, that they gave an open ground to the militants, killed Hindus. All these policies that Pakistan is adopting is to convert Hindustan into a Muslim country. Ghazwa Hind. Whether it's to love jihad, whether it is to terrorism. I tell you one more thing, that whenever such things happen, when terrorist activities take place, and normally, it is the Muslims who conduct this terrorist activity. A lot of Muslims appreciate it. A lot of people appreciate it. And even our politicians, I heard one politician saying that they should dismantle their intelligence agencies. This is the kind of politicians that we have. And to deal with this...
Mr. Sood, I'm aware there are elements in the society who perpetrate violence, who are happy about violence. I'm not sure, sir, if it's a religious specific issue. I'm not too convinced if it's a religion-specific issue, because many of those injured and killed, in the Red Fort blast were also Muslims. So I don't think terror discriminates between who it's killing, and that is exactly what we saw at the Red Fort. Ranjan Dwivedi ji, doctors, engineers, university staff, people who are not susceptible to this sort of radicalization, or at least we believe are not susceptible to this sort of radicalization, are today being radicalized, and this is a scary picture.
No, but that, you see, as I explained to you, that it's not a very scary picture. You have to be careful generally. It could be doctors, it could be anybody. See, and secondly, and as you also very rightly said, that we have to be very careful, in whatever we say, that a community doesn't feel caged in the whole thing. It's nothing to do with religion. That we should not bring that into picture at all. And because you see, it's very unfair. It's very unfair to label everybody in this fashion, and will do more harm than good. A. Secondly, you see, it could be anyone. It was doctors here, and I said that the possibility is that one doctor was compromised in for whatever reason, and then blackmailed into becoming the influencer for this group. Now we don't know today as to how long this went out. This group was on for how long. However, there was some news I heard that they had made a group on Telegram called Radicalized Doctors, which if the agencies were not scrutinizing it, they should be doing it. If Telegram doesn't allow it, then perhaps it's time that India should also take steps to you see, there's so many apps. You want to chat, you want to communicate. Now there are so many Indian apps to do it, So that need can be fulfilled by any app. And if the app is not sharing information with you, not sharing, it's for this encryption, they don't give the source code. But if I demand that what is the transaction that's taken place between this gentleman and everybody else, then we have to force these apps to give it. And if they don't give it, it's time the government gets tough on them and says that, you cannot operate here. What happens in China? China, there's no Google. There's no Google. There's no Wikipedia. There's no Gmail.
So if it's a choice between compromising some of our privacy and being safe, I think the choice is very clear. We should be choosing our safety, and we should be going for, you know, better scrutiny of some of these apps which claim to be run unchecked end to end, which claim to be extremely private, so nobody can really access what is being communicated. And we now know that many of this conversation was happening on Signal app, for that matter. So that is another point of conversation. I'm going to come to you, but Dr. Arun Gupta, for an institution like Al-Falah University to come into picture, where not only had its accreditation expired months ago, but also it became a breeding ground. This is where educators were meeting with each other, employees were meeting each other, exchanging messages, coordinating and planning an attack like that. How does one really, introduce some sort of check and balance while dealing in university administration and while dealing with the staff? Because Al-Falah is saying, we're not responsible, these are individuals, they did what they did, but that's not on us.
I think, yes, you are absolutely right. Here we have millions of students or lakhs of university and college everywhere. Now, it may not be easy for the administrator to check on every student, but I think when there is a possibility, there should be high degree of suspicion. And as the gentleman before me was saying, that all these mode of communication, they should be regular in the radar of the investigative agencies. And I would add one point here, because what is the motive? What is the motive of those terrorists? The main motive is to create a divide in our society. So if you are blaming a whole community of 20 crore people for act of some people, I think they would be actually furthering the cause of the terrorists. So we should be very strict with people who have done it, and we should break their nexus. But as far as medical college and the councils are concerned, we have a very limited role. We just check their credentials, whether they have done their degree from a verified place or not, and we check their identity. Now within that system, some people are doing this and that. I think that should be a lesson to all of us. Let the news be tightened around them, and let authorities do it.
Absolutely, and the news will be tightened. In fact, we continue to discuss the latest emerging as far as the Red Fort blast case is concerned. It is now narrowing down on the people who could possibly have been the perpetrators. In fact, the link is now complete as to the mastermind and those who committed that crime. Many arrests have been made. At the center of it all is the Al-Falah University. Gentlemen, we'll slip into a very short break. We'll be back in just a bit.
पता है हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस आपकी फैमिली के लिए कितना जरूरी है? इतना जरूरी है कि भारत सरकार ने इस पे जीएसटी पूरी तरह से हटाकर जीरो कर दिया है। पॉलिसी बाजार पर अब 1 करोड़ का हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस सिर्फ 550 रुपए महीने से शुरू। policybazaar.com।
पेंटिंग में पहली बार बिरला ओपस एश्योरेंस। 1 साल में पेंट को कुछ भी हुआ तो पेंटिंग वापस करके देंगे। रजिस्टर करो birlaopus.com पर।
पढ़ता है, खेलता है, झूलता उछलता है, दौड़ता कभी कभी दौड़ कराता है, आगे आगे बढ़ता है इंडिया, अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया।
भाई साहब, आपने भारत कनेक्ट का नाम सुना है?
एक और सोशल मीडिया ऐप।
सोशल मीडिया ऐप नहीं, वो 700 से ज्यादा ऐप्स पे बिल पेमेंट्स पॉसिबल बनाते हैं।
बढ़िया है।
आप हमें जानते नहीं पर मानते जरूर हैं। हम हैं भारत कनेक्ट।
अर्जुन कुछ भी पढ़े मेमोरी में नहीं रहता।
नो एडेड शुगर, प्रिजर्वेटिव के बिना। डेट्स, बादाम, पिस्ता, काजू और शहद से तैयार किया गया लायन डेट्स नट बाइट्स।
लायन डेट नट बाइट्स।
लाइफ जब भी आगे बढ़ने का मौका दे तो अपनी सुपर पावर, अपना गोल्ड यूज करिए और IIFL फाइनेंस से गोल्ड लोन लीजिए।
IIFL फाइनेंस करता है सीधी बात।
शुद्ध जैसे उगता सूरज पर्वत पार, शुद्ध जैसे दिल से जुड़ता दिल का तार, शुद्ध जैसे माँ का आंचल, माँ का प्यार, शुद्ध इश्क का जादू दिल पे सवार, शुद्ध जैसे देश की धरती का पुकार, अपने घर वैसा शुद्ध शालीमार।
शुद्ध नारियल तेल, पॉपुलर।
welcome back. You're watching In Your Interest. We continue to discuss the Red Fort blast case and the latest emerging as far as the mastermind behind that blast is concerned, said to be a certain Imam Irfan Wage. And we are discussing, of course, how institutions have been penetrated by radical elements and what is the intelligence agency is going to do about it. Joining me on the show is N.K. Sood, former RAW officer. Also continues to be with me is Ranjan Dwivedi, former DGP, Uttar Pradesh Police, and Dr. Arun Gupta, former President at Delhi Medical Council and a senior consultant at Fortis Hospital. Gentlemen, thank you very much for continuing to be with us. Ranjan Dwivedi ji, we were of course talking about, how this is a white collar crime, and you said it has existed for a very long time. My question to you is, at this point, the mastermind, Imam Irfan Wage, who reportedly radicalized these doctors, these paramedics, who was himself a paramedic before he became an imam. How do such recruitment chains operate in your understanding? What sort of a chain does it allow for it to operate in such a vast manner, from Jammu and Kashmir to Faridabad to links now emerging in UP? Very sophisticated and a rather complex network.
Yeah, Shweta, you have to see it in context. India is a liberal democracy. It's got rule of law. It's got its human rights institutions. It's got its laws on privacy, which are respected. And in this kind of an open scenario, it does get very difficult to lay your hands on people without actually intruding into their privacy too much, which obviously the government would not like to do. And so this is a continuous battle. It's a continuous battle. We know there are forces from across the border who are sending money to influence people, not just immediate neighbor, but even other countries beyond our neighborhood. Even they have an interest in destabilizing the country. So it's a huge country. It's the largest country in the world, and if it happens, it's very bad. But it's to be expected that these things will happen. And India will have to be very careful. And I'd just like to mention a couple of things here. That although I know that security agencies are using a lot of AI, a lot of big data analysis and so on, monitoring phones, etc., have been there for a very long time. Of course, these encrypted apps like even WhatsApp, for example, they do cause a problem. But even in normal SMS, you can find out who sent whom an SMS.
Right.
But you cannot find out what is in that SMS till you catch the chap and you take care of his phone and so on. So we have to make a big foray in our use of information technology and artificial intelligence. For example, now it said from camera readings that this accused was in his car for 3 hours in the parking lot.
That's right.
Which is, you see, why do you go to a parking lot? You park your vehicle, you go somewhere. If you have to sit in your vehicle, why would you go to a parking and spend money over there? So now, and considering that we have AI now, there's a need to integrate databases and watch all this. So if the database tells you, if AI tells you that, look, somebody's been sitting in the car for more than half an hour, 1 hour, then the person needs to be checked as to what's happening. Secondly, the car was transferred several times. So using artificial intelligence to monitor transportation department data, that in case of very frequent transfer of a vehicle, it should show an alert that something that needs to be checked. We saw that 3 tons of explosives being moved across a couple of states is not an easy thing.
Absolutely.
So which tells you that, okay, in state borders, at random, we need to check through mechanical means as well as sniffer dogs regarding movement of explosives. So you see, if all that happens, that will be a deterrent for these perpetrators, and with better, more focused use of IT today, I'm sure we'll be able to do a much better job.
100%. Better use of IT, better use of existing resources, the big data use, the use of AI in mapping some of these people. Yes. So I'll come to you. Let me quickly also get in Dr. Arun Gupta into this conversation. Dr. Gupta, We're looking at universities becoming safe havens or breeding ground for radical ideologues. How do we prevent that? How do we prevent, universities turning into radical ideological battlegrounds, especially for faculty members and students who disguise themselves as innocent academics otherwise? How do we prevent this from happening in future?
I think we should not by this incident, we should not think like that all the university or the ministries are harboring such kind of people, but it is the larger issue where the people, the bad people or terrorists can have any profession or any religion and can from any place. So I think the Dwivedi Sahib was very absolutely right. It is a duty of our intelligence where the people of this such high suspicious background, they are moving and they should be tracked. I think universities are there. University will be hundreds of universities in India if kind of tracking one community or one kind of people another one or other way. That is not a good idea. But terrorists come from all the places. It's not necessarily they come on university or no. And even the September 11 attack, the people who hijacked the plane were very highly educated people. So I think this has nothing to do with their religion or their academics or their kind of university. I think it's a larger issue where the people, the public, police or intelligence, they have to be very cautious. I don't think we can pinpoint one or two universities just because of certain kind of people are there.
This case has shocked so many of us, Dr. Gupta, as well as Mr. Ranjan Dwivedi. The reason, because as you pointed out, there have been previous white-collar extremists that we see on the outside. We haven't seen many of them here in India, or at least close to the national capital. Ranjan Dwivedi, I hope, that is also one of the reasons why you can understand why people are so surprised that these were healers, these were medical professionals. They take the Hippocratic oath of protecting people. And if such educated people can be radicalized, then any uneducated person or disenfranchised person can easily be swayed. That's the fear emerging today. So I know that intelligence grid need to adapt to detect, such ideological infiltration in schools and colleges. What sort of adaptation do you think we need at this point in order to, figure out at large these educated extremists who have the capacity to not just run a vehicle into the crowd, but also detonate a bomb?
Yeah, you see, Shweta, I again request, that we shouldn't read too much into the fact they are doctors. The person was radicalized. One person, and another thing I'll add here, that the university campus and these centers of learning, they're essentially very, very liberal places.
That's
you
right.
try to introduce any rule over there and the authorities face such a backlash from them. So, trying to control them would be perhaps counterproductive because you have to have a free atmosphere. But the agencies have to sensitize, and and all these intelligent people also sensitize now, especially after the incident, that you got to be very careful and see who's where. Now, there's news that in Kanpur, one doctor, he said this colleague of mine is a cardiologist, and so please let him also stay with me in the house. So obviously, since they were from different religions, so he couldn't have said he's my brother and so on. And the cardiologist was staying over there. Later, it turned out the cardiologist was also part of the network.
That's right.
So you just have to be careful, and we have to be careful also that we do not stigmatize anyone. We have to be careful.
100%. That goes without saying, Dr. I completely agree with you, sir. But I think one of the reasons why people are so surprised is also because medicine as a profession takes years and years of studies as opposed to a graduate degree or a postgraduate degree in any other field. And so, with the grueling amount of hard work, the hours that you put in to become a doctor, one finds it next to impossible that people who are that educated can do something that extreme. That's the reason why I think there is more surprise in society today.
You're right. It does come as a shock. See, after all, people rely for wellness, they rely on God or the doctor. God, you can't see a doctor right in front of you. So in a way, he's like God for you. People have so much faith in a doctor, and if a doctor comes in a situation where he's actually or she is involved in taking lives, then it does come as a rude shock and a huge shock. But as I said that, fine, if this is true, But then we should not reach too much into this. The guys are doctors. It could have been anybody.
That's
and the more intelligent people are, the more intelligent people are, actually, it's easier to radicalize them. It's easier to influence them. Why? Because they feel that they're very intelligent and they must follow some ideology. If they don't say anything radical, they're not seen as being intelligent. So there's this different dynamic that works in these educational institutions.
The pressure of being an intellectual.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you find in so many universities, left is so strong. Outside the university, left is not there at all. But in the university, left is still very strong. So that's the reason. And then again, I just come back to this whole issue of database, joining databases,
right.
Databases in the integration. You are in England, you don't pay some government agency. Next time you go there, they already have flagged you, and when you present your passport, they say, look, you went to that NSA agency, that happened to a friend of mine, that you did not pay that bill.
Right.
You see, that is the level of integration.
Right.
I mean, here the integration is not even for your Aadhaar card and your voting ID. You buy a car. If you have a case against you, even that is not flagged.
That's right.
See,
the agency, the integration has to be far better than what it is. I completely agree. I've completely also run out of time. Ranjan Dwivedi, Dr. Arun Gupta, thank you very much for taking time out, as well as NK Sood. Thank you very much, all of you, for taking time out, for joining us on the show. We continue to track, as I mentioned, the latest emerging as far as the Red Fort blast is concerned. The mastermind is now emerging very clearly as an imam operating from Kashmir, but his foot soldiers operating from all over Delhi NCR region, as well as UP, and with that the chain is now complete. Educated, radicalized people working from Indian soil to destroy Indian lives. And as we close in and the authorities close in on who's responsible, more questions are emerging as to how universities are becoming breeding ground for radicalized elements, and how the intelligence institution must adapt to ensure that they nip it in the bud. But that's all we have in your interest today. Thank you very much for watching.
भारत सरकार ने सभी देशवासियों के हित में हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस से जीएसटी पूरी तरह से